Assalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh. My name is Fauzia Ratna Cahyanti. In this video, I want to complete my project. So in the part 1, I want to explain about cross-cultural understanding. For the part 1, I want to explain about culture shock and non-verbal communication. Part 1 is the definition of culture shock. What is culture shock? Culture shock is the feeling of confusion, discomfort, or anxiety that people experience when they enter a new cultural environment that is different from their own. It's a normal process of adapting after often involving stage like the honeymoon or assessment. Negotiation of rotations is the difficulty, adjustment is understanding, and adaptation or acceptance is a comfort as you learn new norms and cope with being separated from your support system. Next, there is a causes. What is causes in culture shock? Culture shock can be caused by several factors that make adapting to a new environment difficult. One major cause is language barrier. Struggling to communicate can create frustration and misunderstanding. Difference in social norms such as greetings, personal space, or etiquette can also lead to confusion or embarrassment. And another cause is adjusting to new food, climate, or daily routine, which can make individuals feel uncomfortable or out of place. Next, examples of culture shock. Culture shock appears in many situations where individuals encounter new cultural expectations. A student studying abroad may feel overwhelmed by different teaching styles, classroom expectation, or social interaction with classmates. A business professional working in another country might struggle with workplace etiquette such as how meetings are conducted or how authority is viewed. Even travelers visiting a foreign country may experience culture shock when encountering different food customs, transportation system, or public behavior. So next, solution of culture shock. There are several ways to manage and overcome culture shock. One effective solution is learning about the new culture in advance. One helps set realistic expectation and reduce misunderstanding. Another approach is practicing open-minded and patient as adapting to a new environment takes time. Finding a support network such as joining cultural exchange groups, connecting with people from similar background can also make the transition easier. Additionally, embracing the new culture by trying the local food, learning basic in the local language, and participating in cultural activity can help individuals feel more comfortable and engaged. By taking active steps to adapt, people can gradually reduce the effects of culture shock and develop a deeper appreciation for their environment. Now, let's explore some related concepts that helps explain that experience of culture shock. Related concept culture shock is closely related to several other cultural adaptation concepts. And then, how to deal with culture shock? The first one, learn a new cultural before leaving. 2, open-minded and flexible. 3, establish relationship with locals and fellow immigrants. 4, learn the local language. So the second one, we have nonverbal communication. What is nonverbal communication? Nonverbal communication is a transfer of information from one person to another without the use of words or spoken language. Nonverbal communication can occur in a variety of ways, including through facial expression, gestures, and body posture or position. And then there are 4 categories of nonverbal communication. There is the first one. We have aesthetic. What did aesthetic means? Aesthetic communication involve creative expressions such as art, music, dance, theater, and each. The second one, physical. We have physical. What is physical in of category of nonverbal communication? Physical communication involves bodily movement used during social interaction, such as smile, frown, and wink. And then we have sign. Sign include any signals that are used or displayed to communicate a message or that have a special meaning. And then the last one, we have symbol. What is symbol? Symbol are any material objects promote social status, such as jewelries, cars, clothing, and another. Next, physical communication is the most common form of nonverbal communication. Is from Putela 2015. Nonverbal communication is used to translate one's feelings, attitude, and overall message from Protest 1969. And nonverbal communication has attended to either support or replace verbal communication from Putela 2015. And nonverbal communication is more reliable than words spoken from Dumbrava G and Kronka A 2009. Next, we have there are 6 universal human emotion. The first one, we have happiness. 2, anger. 3, sadness. 4, envy. 5, fear, and the last is love. Benefit of nonverbal communication. Nonverbal communication benefits include enhancing understanding, building trust, expressing emotions, and strengthening relationship by allowing for quick communication like emojis or gesture, and conveying authenticity, making interaction clearer, more personal, and impactful across personal and professional settings. Okay, that's all for part 1. So let's move to part 2. For part 2, we have 3 questions, and there are 3 parts. It's A, B, and C. So I will explain about part A first. We have case study stereotype of Chinese Indonesia. In many communities, there is a common stereotype that Chinese people are not really good at mathematics, business, and are likely to own shops or run commercial activities. However, this stereotype does not always reflect reality. In this case, Chen Chen, who comes from Chinese Indonesian or Peranakan family, struggle with numbers and does not excel in mathematics. She also has no interest in business and does not plan to own a shop. Despite this, people around her often assume she should be good at counting or managing money simply because of her ethnic background. Analyze the case of Chen Chen by answering the following questions. For number 1, what type of stereotype is presented in this case? Okay, next try to answer the question of case study 1, that is stereotype of Chinese Indonesian. Question number 1, what is the type of stereotype is presented in this case? This is a positive stereotype and general cultural assumption. People assume that all Chinese people are not really good at mathematics and business. Although this sounds like a compliment, it is inaccurate because it ignores individual difference because everyone is different. And then question number 2 is, what are the negative impacts of this stereotype on Chen Chen? Chen Chen may feel pressures, stress, or insecure because people expect her to be expert in maths and business. If she cannot meet this expectation, people might misunderstand her or judge her, and her real interest might be ignored. And then question number 3 is, are there any positive impacts of this stereotype? There are no real positive impact. Even though the stereotype seems good, it creates unrealistic expectation and high. The stereotype is that Chinese people are expert at maths, business, and managing money. This causes people to judge Shan based on her ethnicity or race instead of her actual individual ability. Okay, next, I will explain for part B. The topic is beyond language barriers, cultural communication, and collaboration. I will start from the root of the problem. The main challenge in international collaboration is often not English proficiency but cultural meaning. There is frequently a mismatch between the sender attention and the receiver's interpretation, so the same word has different meaning. This is solved that over 70 teamwork problems come from cultural misunderstanding and miscommunication rather than a lack of skill or intelligence. Okay, next talking about the communication style. There are two communication style. The first is indirect communication and the second is direct communication. Let's talk about indirect communication. In this communication style, the first is in direct communication and the second is direct communication. Let's talk about indirect communication first. This communication style is usually soft, implied, and focused on harmony. In this style, speakers prioritize protecting the listener's feelings. Therefore, messages are often delivered in polite and carefully way. Instead of saying things directly, the speakers need to imply the meaning. As a result, the listener is expected to understand the message from the content. Moreover, conflict is usually avoided because direct confrontation may damage relationship. That is why indirect communication is often used in cultures that value message from the content. Now let's talk about direct communication. This style is characterized by being clear, open, and honest in contrast to indirect communication. Direct communication prioritizes clarity, meaning the speakers want to make sure the message is understood exactly as intended. The meaning is said explicitly, so there is a little room for misunderstanding. For this reason, feedback usually given straightforwardly. In addition, debate and open discussion are encouraged because they are seen as positive tools for improvement rather than conflict. Next, let's talk about the communication style comparison between British versus in Indonesia. British tend to have direct communication while Indonesia tend to have indirect communication. Let's the example in British director is seen as to improve performance, but in Indonesia directness is often perceived as harsh criticism, and in British debate is considered healthy and constructive, while in Indonesia debate tends to be viewed as conflicts. The last is in British honest and straightforward feedback is highly valued, but in Indonesia maintaining harmony and protective feelings are prioritized. Next, the impact of different meanings in common. The same language can be interpreted across cultural. For example, the praise may be can and maybe cannot, seen as a polite expression of uncertainty in Indonesia, but confusing for British speaker. And the praise up to you means respect and flexibility in Indonesia, but mayn't like indifference in British culture. Next is silent. Silence represents politeness and respect in Indonesia, but may be interpreted as disagreement in Britain. Next, direct feedback can be perceived as rude in Indonesia, but considered helpful and professional in Britain. At some practical skill can be applied in everyday communication. Even small change in wording can lead to significant results, especially in cross-cultural interaction. First is clarifying. When someone is unclear, we can ask, do you mean A or B? This helps avoid misunderstanding and ensures that everyone has the same understanding. Second, summarizing. By saying so we agree, we can convey the main point of a discussion. As a result, miscommunication can be reduced. Third is asking for opinions. Asking what do you think, so respect and encourage participation. It also team. Fourth is emotional check-in. Saying how do you feel about this allow us to understand others' emotions. This is especially important in cultures that value harmony and relationship. And the last is polite disagreement. Instead of directly opposing an idea, we can say, may I share a different perspective? This allows us to express disagreement respectfully without creating conflict. Okay, next to answer the question of case study in part C, that is body language misunderstanding. Question number one, how does this situation show that body language can lead to culture shock? This situation solved because interprets the hand gesture based on Indonesia culture, where it means stop when his American friend asks the same gestures to say hello. Amran becomes convinced the different meanings of body language in each culture cause misunderstanding. Question number 2 is, what cultural factor influence the meaning of body language in this case? Body language is strongly influenced by culture. In raising a hand with fingers spread is often used to stop someone or forbid something, while in the USA, the same gesture is commonly used as a friendly way to say hello or wave. This shows that one gesture can have very different meanings depending on the cultural background. Question number 3 is, what negative effects might this misunderstanding have on Amran's interaction with others? This misunderstanding can make Amran feel anxious, embarrassed, and uncomfortable during social interactions. He worries about being rude or writing incorrectly. As a result, he might become hesitant and less confident when communicating with people from other cultures. Question number 4 is, what problem-solving strategy can help Amran handle this situation? To handle these three are several things Amran can do. The first is politely ask for clarification if he is unsure about a gesture. The second one is observe how local people use body language. The third one is learn about common American cultural norms. If he keeps an open mind and is willing to learn, he will communicate more confidently and avoid misunderstanding in the future. Okay, that's all for me. Thank you for watching this video. I hope I will get my good score. Thank you.